We should have a few gonna, logging in to join us. We had a couple who are maybe on the wrong link. So people may just still filter in, Amber, if that's okay. But I know you have a lot of information, so I'm going to let you get to it. But I just want to welcome everybody. Thanks for being back with us for part 2 of Food and Mood, talking about the food addiction cycle, the sugar addiction cycle. And so Amber is going to share with us more of the tips and strategies today, kind of building off of what we talked about last month more together. So Amber, I'm going to let you go ahead and get started because I know you've got a lot of info and we have a short amount of time. Thanks for being here.
Great. Thanks, Steph. I do have a lot of info I want to share with you today, so I am going to go ahead and get started. Let me share my screen here. Let me see. Okay, making sure I'm trying something a little different here so everyone can see the title slide, part 2, sugar connection, part 2. Yes, good to go. Okay, perfect. Perfect. I think this will work. So, not going to spend a lot of time on who I am. I think if you were joining us from last time, you know who I am by now. You've joined us for either this series or ones in the past, but just in case, my name is Amber. I'm happy to be here. I am one of the National Board Certified Health and Wellness Coaches at UNCG, so I do offer that to faculty and staff through the health coaching department. I also have my own business where I do this one-on-one, sort of on a private scale as well. So let's go ahead and get started. I wanted to review first the key takeaways from part 1, just as a refresher in case anyone didn't get a chance or hadn't seen the recording, doesn't remember, whatever the case may be. So, okay. So for part 1, we talked about how appetite was controlled by a lot of different complex mechanisms, and that it was all of those mechanisms sort of working together that created those feelings of hunger and satiety. When we look at the overall impact of what these cues have in terms of other lifestyle factors, we're really looking at things like stress, inflammation. You've got that nutrition, that exercise, that sleep sort of piece in there, and how they help to control those hormones and that appetite, okay? So we talked a little bit about how sleep, for instance, if you didn't get a good night's sleep, could trigger you to be hungrier and create those cravings. This was especially true when we talked about those sugar and ultra-processed kinds of foods, because they disrupt those mechanisms and those signals that are being sent from the gut to the brain. And so it's not only about what impacts your gut that we kind of think about when we're eating these really highly addictive foods, what I call those high foods, the high fat, high sugar, high salt kinds of things, but that this is also impacting our brain. And just as a sort of preview for next semester, we are going to be starting a series that goes into this a little deeper. So we'll be continuing with the food and the mood, but one of the first sessions we're going to cover is really looking in depth at that gut-brain axis, what it is, what it means, you know, how it impacts all aspects of our health, and why it is so critically important. So just a little tidbit to maybe whet your appetite, no pun intended, for next semester. So again, the main causes of the carb cravings that we talked about last time included things like stress, which I just mentioned. Also includes things like emotional unrest, or that attachment of meaning to foods. And we talked a lot about that in terms of really looking at what is it that's going on at a deeper level. You know, is it a comforting kind of food? Have we attached some sort of meaning to where we felt safe in that memory at that particular time? And so now we're trying to recreate that. But also looking at things like, you know, what are we lacking? Are there any needs that are unmet? You know, do we have enough social interaction? Or is that a need that's not being met? Are we lacking vitamins, minerals, those sorts of things? Even a lack of sleep. So thinking about it in terms of that. You've got that gut microbiome imbalance, which we know can lead to different nutrient deficiencies. I mean, because the gut helps us absorb, break down, and even synthesizes some of these chemicals, you know, so thinking about how that plays in, and then the hormones and the chemicals signals being disrupted because of basically everything that I've just mentioned, you know, stress being a huge factor in this, because it disrupts sort of that HPA axis. And we know that that hypothalamus now is actually one of the pieces that, you know, is in charge of cueing those hunger and satiety signals. So ultimately, what drives food cravings can be different for each of us. These are just a few of the main causes, but it's up to us to kind of decide what the clues our body is sending us really mean, and then choose the strategy that best addresses that particular reason. So trying to apply one strategy as a remedy for all of these possible reasons for cravings really doesn't work, you know, and sometimes I think that's where we get stuck. You know, we get so frustrated because, well, my friend said that this worked really well for her and I tried it and it still doesn't work for me. And so we really get frustrated and discouraged. But if we look at all the different causes of food cravings, it makes sense, right? We may be trying to use a strategy that addresses a different cause than what, you know, we're actually needing. So I'll give you an example. Okay. So for instance, if my cravings were driven by feelings of loneliness and boredom, then I wouldn't necessarily want to apply strategies that related to balancing my blood sugar. Okay. So we're going to look at several different strategies today. But again, remember, if one doesn't work for you, that doesn't mean another one won't, but it's about deciphering really what your body is needing for you particularly. So I wanted to start first with looking at setting SMART goals. And SMART goals are going to be instrumental in pretty much everything that we're going to talk about today, because if we don't set the goals, if we don't have something we're working towards, then oftentimes we can lose sight, you know, of that big picture. So this is a lot of something that we do in health coaching. So if you're interested in working one-on-one with a coach, definitely get in touch with Steph or even Thalie, who's normally here with us. But we could definitely make that happen. SMART goals specifically mean, okay, specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and timely. Those are the 5 different pieces of setting the SMART goal. And they answer the questions, what, how, and when. Okay, now keep in mind that as we go through this, the how part can be a way that you're going to achieve your goal, or it can refer to something, you know, how much or how long am I going to do something? So keep that in mind. I'll go through this setup with you here in just a second. But once you get your goal set up, you also need to make sure it's realistic and attainable. So for instance, if I wanted to start exercising, okay, and I said, I'm going to exercise for 30 minutes 3 times a week. Okay. It answers what, how, and when. But I am in a boot because I just broke my foot a couple of weeks back. then exercising for 30 minutes, 3 to 4 times a day may not be realistic at this time frame, right? So always keep in mind, is it realistic? Is it attainable for you right here in this moment? Because if it's not, then that's more of a longer term goal or a multi-level goal. And you know, so it's not something that we can address in the immediate future, which is really what SMART goals are great for. So you want to follow this format when you set up your SMART goal. All right. I will, and then you insert your what for, and this is where you put in your how or how long, and then by or for when. And in this way, it really is measurable, specific, and timely, and we can make sure that it is relevant and attainable. So I wanted to give you some examples. If we wanted to set a sugar SMART goal, here are some examples that you could try, okay? So I will decrease my sugar intake by 1 teaspoon daily for the next week, okay? It answers the what, I'll decrease my sugar intake, the how, or how much, by 1 teaspoon daily, and the when is for next week, okay? So I think y'all can kind of see how this goes. Other options may be, I will decrease my sugar intake in the form of sodas and sugary drinks by half over the next 2 weeks by substituting in more water. Okay, so that one has a little more detail. It tells me how much, but it also tells me how I'm going to do it. So just an example to show you how you can incorporate both of those in there. So what I would like to do is encourage you. I don't really think I need to read the other two for y'all. Y'all can look at them, but I'd like to encourage you now to really think about what it could be a sugar SMART goal. It could also just be a basic cravings SMART goal, but think about what your SMART goal might be. And then if you would like, go ahead and drop it in the chat if you feel like sharing. And I'll give you just a moment to kind of think one up and drop it in the chat. Okay. So does anyone have a goal they would like to share? I see a couple starting to come in. Okay, so someone says that they like the goal of decreasing sugary drinks by half for 2 weeks. Yeah, liquid calories are a big weakness for a lot of people. It's actually one of the main ways we get the extra sugar. So yeah, definitely thinking about making it practical for you, right? And starting small. We don't want to necessarily go all in and say, hey, I'm going to cut all sugary drinks out for the next month. You're going to be miserable. And it kind of sets yourself up for that failure. So just encouraging you to start small, build on your progress as you go. Yeah, so need to reduce daily intake of chocolates and sweets. And you could figure out a way to definitely do that to where it doesn't seem overwhelming. Okay, so I hope this is making sense. So we're going to talk about some extra strategies to maybe help more with these cravings of sweets and things and what we can do about it. Okay, just making sure. Okay, so if we want to look at some additional tools and strategies, this is an overall list, really, of things that you might possibly try. I don't think we'll have time to go over all of them in detail today, but this gives you some things that you can explore on your own as well. So one, build awareness around your craving, right? What does that look like? Are there certain situations, or are there certain feelings or thoughts that drive you to these sugar cravings? Are they certain times of day even? Because sometimes getting a sugar craving first thing in the morning maybe means something different than if you're getting it later in the afternoon. So really starting to track and build that awareness, and that cravings trigger worksheet that we did last time is actually a good way to start to build that awareness. And there's lots of different ways that you can work to build that awareness. Some people like to keep, a record, some sort of tracking log. Some people like to keep a journal. So those are some ways that you could build awareness around that craving. We're going to talk about the health technique. And this is a technique that has been adapted from the HALT technique that is used often in Overeaters Anonymous and some other weight loss types of addiction groups. So I've tweaked it a little bit. We'll go over that one specifically. We're actually going to practice mindful eating. So I hope that you brought a drink or a snack or maybe your lunch. I know it's right at lunchtime. Okay. So just having something close by if you can. We'll talk about different eating patterns. We'll mention some supplements. And at this point, I think it's probably pertinent for me to just let everyone know I am not recommending specific brands of supplements, or even, I wouldn't even call it recommendations. These are things that you would need to check with your doctor, your pharmacist for your particular health concerns, and make sure that they are applicable. But I do sell supplements, so I want just to be transparent and let everyone know. But I think I actually talked to Steph. We're going to send out, if anyone is interested in going that route, then I will send you my link to my dispensary. It has 10% off. Okay. But just trying to be upfront with you, but it has lots of options. So, but again, all of that, check with your doctor or pharmacist. Okay. We'll look at some acupressure points, some aromatherapy types of things, so that you can hit up the essential oil store on campus and get you some of those essential oils. We'll look specifically at that emotional freedom technique. Probably won't have time to get to heart math, but that is a very useful technique for lots of different self-regulatory types of things. And then again, like I said, just address any underlying causes with your doctor. So if you know that you have a blood sugar issue, which can impact cravings, impact mood, all of that together, work with your physician or your medical team to make sure that that's managed. Okay. So let's start with the To Your Health technique. Okay. So when you feel a craving coming on, I want you to think of your health. Okay. And then I want you to ask yourself, what's my body trying to tell me? Okay. And then, am I hydrated, emotional, attentive, lonely, tired, or hungry? Okay, so those are really 6 of the main sort of triggers for cravings. And so we'll go through each one of these. I will send this out in the follow-up email. We'll make sure that you get this so that you can have your copy. But really looking and thinking about, am I hydrated? Sometimes our bodies confuse thirst for hunger. So we will think that we're hungry, right? We'll have that craving when really our body is just trying to give you a signal. Hey, I need some water. I need some liquid. It knows it can get it from food. So, it does send those cues out. So that's a really good place to start. Just try sipping on some water for, maybe a 10, 15 minute period, or even an herbal tea, something that doesn't have necessarily that sugar, if that sugar is what you're craving. All right. And just slowly sip on that and see if that alleviates the craving. Okay. If it's not, continue to move down the list. Am I emotional? Okay. This could mean, am I stressed? Am I angry? Am I sad? You know, what does that look like in terms of that emotional turmoil? Am I anxious? A lot of times we get those carb cravings when we are stressed and anxious. So thinking about that, really, again, this is a great tool for building that awareness, right? Okay. So some good strategies for that are basically get up, go for a walk, move a little bit. It's going to help to move those emotions through. If you were with us last semester, we did some moving and shaking to help move through some of those stuck emotions. So that's a great one that you can do, whether you're at home or at work, you've got a craving, you just want to get up and kind of dance or wiggle. All right. That works. So does exercise. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. But thinking about what you can do to move those emotions, and the emotional freedom technique that we're going to talk about is really good at addressing and moving those emotions. Are you attentive? And what I really mean by this is, are you bored or are you engaged? Have you ever just been sitting there kind of numbed out on the TV, not really have anything to do, and you just start eating for no reason? Okay. A lot of times this is triggered because really we're bored. So thinking about, are you present in the moment? Are you engaged? Is it interesting? All right. And then for being lonely. Okay. So sometimes we see loneliness pop up when we do have that HPA axis dysfunction. It goes hand in hand a lot of times with that depression, that anxiety. That's really why sometimes you see people who are experiencing these mental health challenges can be in a room full of people, and yet they still feel alone. They still feel isolated. Okay. It has to do with that disruption of that HPA axis. And we know that that impacts food cravings now, right? So thinking about, am I lonely? Do I just need to try to connect in some way? Okay. And that can be, you know, over Zoom, obviously, but sometimes we actually need maybe a physical touch. You know, can I get a hug? Can I pet my dog? Sometimes that will help to get rid of those feelings of loneliness. Okay. Am I tired? We've talked about this one. Sleep is critical, really helps to set the circadian rhythm. The whole stress cycle can be impacted by lack of sleep. And so can that appetite control. So, you know, maybe take a quick nap, maybe do something, take a quick meditation, or what I like to call non-sleep deep rest. Okay. Something like a yoga nidra, where you would take 20 minutes, do a body scan, and kind of reset yourself. This is really effective in the middle of the day or towards the end of the day where you're running low on energy. And sometimes that's enough to refresh your body to where then you can, you know, go on to do other goals you have later in for the evening. So with this one, I will say actually, let me go over hungry, and then I will tell you about the meditation, because I've got something to tell you about with that as well. Are you hungry? That's really the last one that I put on the list, because I feel like you need to really assess the other ones first. And then if none of those fit, am I hungry? Has it been several hours since I've eaten? You know, am I feeling weak? Am I feeling shaky? What is it? Could it be really that I need food? And if that's the case, obviously we want to go ahead and eat something, right? But the key to that one is really trying to eat foods that don't create that really high and then that crash. So keeping that blood sugar stable can really help with not getting in that pattern. But then also too, eating foods that are maybe higher in fiber, or that are more nutrient dense, have more protein, right? Maybe, or healthy fat, things of that nature, so that they aren't being used up as fast as maybe those carbs would be. Okay. Now going back to the meditation thing, there is tomorrow night going to be an info session on meditation, what that is, what it means, how it works, place for you to do a little Q&A. If you're interested, I will definitely send the link in the follow-up email so that you can get set up. That is for anyone. And it is, y'all have a sky breathing group on campus for students, but it's actually being kind of put out from them, but this one is open to anyone because it's not just their campus group. So it would definitely be something that's worthwhile. And we know that breathing and meditation help with stress, which we know stress now drives some of those food cravings. So I hope this is starting to all link together for you a little bit, but I will make sure you get all these resources. Okay, so if I am hungry, right? Hunger was the last one. If I am hungry, then let's look at this, all right? How many times do we get just ravenous hungry because we've either pushed ourselves too long, or maybe that muffin we had for breakfast didn't stay with us, right? It's been 4 or 5 hours and we're starving. And so we just start to put anything in our mouth that we can get our hands on, right? Okay, so that actually creates a situation where we're eating so fast, we're eating pretty much probably, again, those carbs, refined carbs that are going to be out of our system. So it sets us up for sort of that roller coaster. If we can slow this process down, it often helps our bodies be able to catch up, our mind and body to catch up, so that one, we aren't eating too much before we realize we're full. Okay, so this is where eating mindfully comes into play. So this, before I go over this, what I want you to do is, if you have a drink, if you have a snack or a lunch or something close by, I want you to practice this with me. Okay. And what we're going to do is we are literally going to, we're going to work with our senses. You know, what do I see? What do I smell? What do I taste? How does it feel in my mouth? Are there any sounds associated with it or not? Okay, so I have my coffee here. I was going to bring my chocolate because that's sort of my weakness, but I figured it probably couldn't talk too much if I had my mouth full. So I have my coffee. So what I'm going to start to do is I want to smell my coffee, right? Okay, notice the richness of it. Okay, and you can certainly do this with whatever you have with you. Okay, how does it smell? All right, and maybe there's a sound. I can kind of hear it sloshing. All right, but what happens when I put it in my mouth and I start to chew? All right, so try taking a bite or a sip or whatever you have. Move it around in your mouth. How does it taste? How does it feel? Is there a texture to it? If your teeth are moving against it, is there now a sound? Slowing it down so that you can notice and again build that awareness around the food. How does it feel when you swallow? Is there an aftertaste? Okay. So how was that? Did that create a different experience for you, slowing down just that one bite or one sip? Feel free, share in the chat. I would love to see how that was for you. Reminds you to slow down, not inhale your food. For sure. I know that if I am, really having that craving, I can eat a whole chocolate bar. There is no doubt. It can happen, right? But if I slow it down and I do just a square at a time, rarely will I ever want more than 1 to 2 squares, because it gives my body and my mind time to come together, the signals to catch up to one another, right? Greater appreciation reminds you how much you really love it. Okay. Yeah. And you can start to do this with your bites. You can think about, are there emotions that come up as you're eating it? You really love that chocolate. Love creates a pleasurable feeling for you. All right. So what other things would make you, and I hope it's okay, Kristen, that I'm using your example here, but what other things would make you feel love? Okay. Because if what we're really craving is that emotion, right, that chocolate gives us, what else can we substitute in? Can I pet my dog? I always feel love when I pet my dog, right? So thinking about how that fits in. So, what thoughts, what feelings come up for you? What memories come up for you as you're slowing it down and really appreciating that single bite or sip of whatever it happens to be? Okay. So I hope that you'll find that useful. I know I really like to figure out if I can narrow it down to, even if it's one of those health things, right? Is it that emotion? Am I feeling lonely? Do I really need just to feel safe and comforted? Then I can switch it around. What else can I put in place for that? Exactly. Doing it when we need to feel comforted. What else could make you feel comforted? We've all been up in arms, feeling just on edge with COVID, right? We've all sought out those comfort foods. We've all, talked about, lots of people have been talking about how they've eaten more of those comfort foods because those states of stress really send those signals haywire, right? So thinking about what else could make you feel safe, secure, less stressed. And again, these are all different for everyone. So me trying to give you something, a specific recipe is really difficult, but it really takes some of that internal self-reflection. So let's look at some other couple of ways just to help you eat mindfully. Remember that the idea here is to bring that awareness to what we're eating and keep us in that present moment. All right. So eating past full and ignoring our body's signals is actually considered a mindless eating practice. A lot of times as kids, we're told, clean your plate, and that can teach our body not to listen to our internal satiety and hunger cues. And so it becomes that habit of, whether I'm full or whether I'm hungry, I still need to clean my plate. So really bringing that awareness back to, what is my body telling me? Is it telling me that I'm full? Because if it is, I can save it maybe for tomorrow. I'll have a lunch, if I didn't finish everything. So really listening to the body, coming back into those emotions again. What is your body trying to tell you? And then, of course, eating mindfully, it would be trying to eat when you're hungry, not necessarily to satisfy that emotion. Coming back into, what can I use instead? And that goes with that emotionally comforting kinds of things too. Eating too fast is a really big driver of this as well, because again, that doesn't give our brains time to catch up to where our stomach is. So we get overly full, because by the time we realize we're full, we've already had that other half an enchilada, right? Or that other half a piece of cake, whatever it happens to be. And so then we feel sort of bloated and just, ugh, right? That's because our brain didn't get the signal fast enough that, hey, I'm full, and to be able to resend those signals, stop eating. So slowing it down like we just did can be very effective. And then, of course, even bringing in that idea of meditation or prayer, some sort of spiritual practice, doesn't have to be religious, but some sort of spiritual practice in which, you are respecting the food and its source, can be very helpful as well. Okay. Here we go. Okay. So thinking about our eating patterns, what does this look like? We're going to talk a little bit about this, but I want to get into some specifics as well. So in addition to eating foods rich in nutrients that help support the body and the mind, eating nutritiously dense foods can reduce food cravings, can improve our energy, and they can build our overall resilience. Okay. In our next workshop, like I said, in the spring semester, we'll go more into the depth about the foods and the eating patterns to help support that mental health when we start to look at the gut-brain connection. And we'll really get into different sorts of eating patterns, anti-inflammatory types of eating patterns, and the effect that that can have on that gut-brain connection. Okay. But in the meantime, some of the nutrients that are thought to be useful in helping to reduce food cravings can be things like B vitamins, magnesium, chromium. Okay. And I will say that all of those are also things that can be seen as being low in those who are having anxiety and depression. So there's your food mood connection. Bringing that back in is that not only are these B vitamins, magnesium, chromium, even these antioxidants, amino acids to help support that neurotransmitter production. It's not that they're just helping curb the craving, but they're also helping to improve and stabilize, any sort of mood disruption that you might be having. So when we talk about individual amino acids, we know that those are the building blocks for those neurotransmitters, and that those neurotransmitters, if they are low or imbalanced, as we often see with mental health kinds of things, that it can lead to cravings. These often go hand in hand. Okay. And so it could be that your body is trying to tell you, again, we have to decipher the clues, that it needs more dopamine. It needs more serotonin, right? And it knows that if it cues you to eat sugar, it's going to help increase those. So really thinking about when these signals come in, when those cravings come up, as far as your situation, can be very helpful. Things like your omega-3 fatty acids in fish oil, algal oil, flaxseed, things of that nature can be very helpful for not only helping with cravings, but also, again, with helping with inflammation, your mood, your cognition, all of those things as well. Also looking at things like glutamine. Glutamine is one of those specific amino acids that they have found to be especially useful in curbing cravings. Okay. And then different herbs, cinnamon, turmeric, lots of different herbs that can be put in there. And we'll talk about another one here coming up. But you can certainly get these in your diet with a well-balanced diet. Okay. Because if our diet isn't balanced, and we're getting in a lot of those high sugar sort of snacks, those refined processed goodies that we all love to eat, in order to process these out, we actually need B vitamins and other cofactors like magnesium and things like that for metabolism to take place. When we eat the whole foods, these vitamins, minerals, cofactors are in the food. So, you eat the food, you get the vitamins and minerals to process it. It'll help you remove the sugar, no problems. If we're taking in just added sugars, which are pretty much nutrient void, right? They're bringing in no extra vitamins, minerals, or anything like that. Then we are actually pulling from our stores in our bodies of these cofactors to help to process that sugar out. And so it can actually, low vitamins and minerals can trigger these sugar cravings, but the more sugar that we eat in our diet can also trigger those vitamin and mineral deficiencies. So you can get caught in that vicious cycle when it comes to that sort of thing. So nutrient dense diets are great. That's the way to go. If your digestion is really good and you don't have any other issues that would compromise that. But sometimes people do need supplementation. So, again, where do you fall with that? So what does this mean? All right. We've talked a little bit about what to eat. And like I said, we'll go into that more next semester. But when you eat is just as important as what you eat, according to some of the research, looking at the time restricted eating pattern. So if you are interested in trying this time restricted eating pattern, practice limiting your eating window to about 12 hours each day. So if you eat dinner at 6, then don't eat again until 6 in the morning, okay? The optimal window that they are suggesting is actually between an 8 to 10 hour feeding window. And so in order to move from that, if you're at a 12-hour and you want to extend sort of that period where you're not having food, then you would just move it up gradually until you got to the desired feeding window length that you wanted. So maybe I extend my breakfast till 6:45 that morning, that next morning. And then, I still eat dinner at 6 o'clock, but then the next morning I've already hit 6:45. So maybe I'll try to push it out to 7:15. Okay. So creating those changes slowly so that you don't feel like you're starving, because we know if we feel like we're starving, we're going to start to get those cravings as well. But they have found that the time restricted eating patterns are useful in helping to reduce those cravings, improve that energy, build that resilience, like we were just talking about before, but also to lessen inflammation because it gives your gut time to repair itself and restore itself. So it can lessen inflammation. And it's also really great to reset that circadian clock. So this could actually be something that would be useful, especially with the time change, to kind of try out, because we're all sort of in this jet lag phase at the moment. So what about acupressure and aromatherapy? Okay. So just a couple of points. I'm not going to go over these in detail because I really want to get to the next little piece, but a couple of acupressure points that have been shown to be helpful in food cravings as well as addictions and stress, those sorts of areas. You can see LV3, which is on your foot, kind of in between your big toe and then your next, what is that, maybe a pointer toe? Right? But up on the foot just slightly. And you should feel a little divot, but the idea is just to hold pressure there. Okay, so if you're sitting at home or you have shoes that slip off, this might be something that you could try. But it actually works by helping to release endorphins. Again, going back to some of those neurochemicals that can help to drive those food cravings. So if we're low in endorphins, then this may help. You can also hold the pressure on your jaws and temples. So, just kind of along like that. And this is actually really good for relieving stress. And a lot of times when we're stressed, we have those ruminating thoughts and that anxiety. And so those can help to relieve that. And if your food craving is caused by that stress and that anxiety, then this could be a way to kind of circumvent that and get to that root cause. And again, then using the essential oils, putting them in a diffuser so that you can smell them in your home or your office. A lot of times they'll use grapefruit oil, which is really good for weight loss and appetite suppression, as well as peppermint oil, which is great for digestion and things of that nature. And I'm sure essential oils are not my area of expertise. I'm sure that you could get more information in the store on campus, okay, if that's something that you were interested in. So what I would really like to do is I want to show you this emotional freedom technique, and it combines those acupressure points with short statements that allow you to process those emotions, that allow you to release that stress. And what they've actually shown in research is that cortisol can be reduced by up to 46% by doing tapping. So if cortisol, stress, those things are driving these cravings, this could be especially helpful. Could also be helpful with those emotional issues as well. So you can see the points. We will start with the one on the hand, the karate chop point. So hopefully you can see this right here, this karate chop. We're going to start here and we're going to practice this. And then we're going to go to the eyebrow, to the side of the eye, under the nose. They call it the chin. It's sort of under the mouth in that little divot. Your collarbone, you can tap either side. It doesn't matter. For your collarbone, you can even use your whole hand. Under the arm, which can be difficult. You can skip this one as well if it's not comfortable. And then top of the head. So I'm going to walk you through. I will do this with you. I'm actually going to play a meditation from the Tapping Solution app instead of running you through my version. Definitely something we could work on one-on-one, but I feel like if you're leaving, you're doing this on your own, having an app is better. So I'm going to play a version of the app. If this is the Cravings Buster for sugar, and we will get going with this. So just follow along and tap if you would like.
Welcome to Cravings Buster Sugar Tapping Meditation. Think about the type of sugary treat you are craving right now. Imagine how it smells, how it tastes. Maybe just by doing this, your craving has gone up, and that's okay. On a scale of 0 to 10, how intense is the craving? 0 being that you feel indifferent, no craving, and 10 being a very strong craving. Mark it in the app now. Let's begin by taking a nice deep inhale and exhale. We're going to begin by focusing on the craving to release the intensity, and then we'll move on to the positive. Start with tapping gently on the side of the hand. Repeat after me, either in your mind or out loud. Even though I have this craving for sugar, I accept myself and how I feel. Even though part of me believes I need this sugar to feel good, I honor how I feel, and I'm open to feeling good now. Even though I have this craving, I choose to relax my mind and body. Eyebrow, I need this sugar. Side of the eye, this craving for sugar. Under the eye, this pressure in my body. Under the nose, I just want it now. Under the mouth, I've been battling this craving. Collarbone, and it's exhausting. Under the arm, it's hard to resist. Top of the head, but I am open to a new way of thinking. Eyebrow, I no longer need to fight this craving. Side of the eye, as I feel calm in my body. Under the eye, I realize I can have sugar. Under the nose, or not have sugar. Under the mouth, I am in control. Collarbone, sugar doesn't make me feel good. Under the arm, I choose to feel good now. Top of the head, I am in control. Eyebrow, I'm releasing this craving. Side of the eye, and I connect with my body. Under the eye, I begin to notice what I'm really craving. Under the nose, maybe I'm craving some time to relax. Under the mouth, maybe I'm craving the feeling of pleasure. Collarbone, maybe I'm craving comfort. Under the arm, or some excitement in my life. Top of the head, I don't need sugar to feel these feelings.
So I will stop it there. And the idea is that you would continue to tap through until the craving was gone, and you would rate yourself again like you did in the beginning. You would rate yourself and see if that rating had gone down on the intensity of the craving. So just to answer a couple of questions that I see coming in. Yes, good. I'm glad it worked for you. It can be actually very, very helpful, especially if it's driven by emotion or, like I said, stress. And yes, you can do this with both hands at the same time. If that works better, you can also, it does not matter which side. If you wanted to, try one side and then the other. So all of it works. And if you're someplace where you can't tap, the latest research is even showing that you can imagine yourself tapping on those points and you can still get some of the same effects. So I hope that you found that useful. I want to run through very quickly. This is my last slide. And then I want to open it up for questions. But here are a couple of other cravings busters. Just some ideas that you may be interested in trying. One, if your breakfast is very carb heavy, so we kind of talked about this before, if it's that bagel, that muffin, or even that instant oatmeal, right? A lot of times that has a lot of extra sugar. And so if we start our day off with that, we are setting ourselves up for that blood sugar roller coaster and more cravings. So thinking about ways that you may want to increase your protein or healthy fat content to start your day so that you aren't initially going in, like I said, on that roller coaster. That could be a possible option. Again, finding what works for you is important. It will not work for everyone. Going for a walk outside. We talked about how novelty increases that dopamine. So change your scenery. Get out. You're having a craving. You've been in your office in front of your computer. go outside, go for a walk. Okay. The walking is really good. Movement can actually help to generate increases in some of those neurotransmitters that may be triggering those food cravings. So things like serotonin, dopamine, all of those things we talked about that really those foods hit on can be increased with exercise. Exercise hits probably more than any of the other ones on the different causes, right? But the thing too is get outside, get in the sunlight. Sunlight actually has beneficial effects on cravings simply because it activates a mechanism that is an appetite suppressant, okay? And so what it's doing is sunlight stimulates what they call melanocyte stimulating hormone, and it then suppresses appetite. So if you've ever noticed that you're not quite as hungry during the summer, or you don't get as many cravings and you've been outside, then that's what's going on there, okay? And we know that sunlight influences those circadian rhythms, and the stronger they are, obviously, the more health benefits we're gonna see. So really important to try to get out, into that sunlight, to do that walk. Combine these if you can. And then, of course, with the exercise, even you're having a craving, get up and do maybe 5 or 10 minutes of a short duration, sort of high intensity kind of thing. And sometimes that's enough just to knock that craving away. Obviously, if that's not practical for you, then going for that walk will do sort of the same thing. And then the one thing that I wanted to mention is some people have reported finding it beneficial to try Gymnema sylvester. And in Hindi, it actually means sugar destroyer. The word for it does. And that can actually be beneficial in helping you if you're someone who just loves that sweet taste. You can't get over that sweet taste. You have to have it. What this does is it blocks those sweet taste receptors on your tongue, so you don't actually taste that sweetness. So that may be an option as well. And again, like I said, even trying other supplements that we have discussed, the glutamine, the B vitamins, the magnesium, chromium, things of that nature can all be very, very helpful. And again, I'll send out that link if anyone would like to look at those, or y'all have my email if you'd like to reach out and ask questions. Okay. Rebalancing the microbiome and getting good sleep. We will go into those in more detail as we get into next semester, but just knowing sleep is important, and then eating that nutrient dense diet, and even incorporating probiotic types of foods. So your kefir, your yogurt, your sauerkraut, those fermented types of things can be helpful as well. So I'm going to stop there. I think we have a few minutes left, hopefully, and we will open it up for questions. I'm going to stop sharing so we can see everyone's lovely face.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Amber. Stephanie had to hop off really fast, but I just want to remind everyone that if you need to go, feel free to. This session will be recorded, and we'll be sending it out with all the resources. But if you can't stay and ask questions, that is great also. We had one question come in when you were going over the slide of making those time frames of when to eat. And someone asked, is that intermittent fasting, or what exactly is intermittent fasting?
Yes, it is a form. It is a form of intermittent fasting. There are lots of different ways to practice intermittent fasting. That is probably one of the easiest ways to get the same benefits without going for extreme fast, taxing the body. Because, for women, fasting too long can really impact hormones. So we really need to be kind of careful with that. But doing the time restricted feeding window allows us to get those benefits without, really taxing the body.
Perfect. Thank you. And then someone asked, what is the name of the app?
It is the tapping solution.
The tapping solution.
And I will make sure that that gets sent out in the follow-up as well, so that everyone has that to look for.
Perfect. And then going off of the intermittent fasting, is what you call time restricted eating the same as intermittent fasting?
It is a form.
Okay.
It is a form. Yes. Like I said, it's one of the easier ways to kind of practice that intermittent fasting without it stressing the body. So yeah.
Okay, and that's all the questions that I see in the chat. If anyone else has any questions, please feel free to put them on there really fast or unmute yourself. But other than that, I believe this is the end. And like I said, the tapping solution. What is this?
Talking about the Gymnema sylvester, is that what you wanted to know what this
Yes.
is? Okay, so that is more of, I guess I would classify it as maybe like an herbal kind of product, but you can get it in supplement form. And when you take it, then it has the ability, okay, well, if you take it in capsule form, it's not going to block the taste receptors in your mouth, but it will block those sweet tastes from entering other parts of the system. If you're using like a powder, then it will actually block the taste receptors in the mouth. And, you know, you can kind of think, why eat something sweet if I'm wanting to taste it and I can't taste it? You know, why bother eating it? So some people do find that beneficial. I have not personally tried that one. I cannot attest for it on any level. This is just some of the options that are out there.
Perfect. Thank you so much. That was a great question. Sorry, I thought I heard someone maybe unmuting. But thank you so much, Amber, for being here and for continuing to do these sessions with us. Like I said, all this will be sent out probably tomorrow at the latest. It does take time to get the recording all sent in and the resources, but thank you all so much for being here. We hope you have a great day.